Tokyo, December 31st, 2000. Just hours before the new year, while the city buzzed with celebration, inside a quiet suburban home, a nightmare was unfolding. A husband, a wife, two innocent children, all brutally murdered, and the killer stayed the night. What kind of person murders a whole family, then lingers in their home, eats their food, uses their computer, and disappears without a trace? 2 decades later, Japan's most disturbing unsolved murder still haunts investigators and the nation alike. This is the Setagaya family murder mystery. Setagaya, a quiet residential ward in Tokyo, is where families go for peace, space, and community. And at the end of a narrow path next to Setagaya Park, the Miyazawa family lived in a 2-story home, tucked away, partly isolated by the park's edge. Mikio Miyazawa, 44, was a hard-working father employed by Interbrand, a marketing firm. Yasuko Miyazawa, 41, was a loving mother and part-time teacher. Their daughter Nina, just 8 years old, and their son Ray, only 6, both described as cheerful, polite, and full of life. They were the picture of normalcy. Until the night of December 30th, 2000. The family had recently made plans to move out. The park next to their home, once a peaceful backdrop, had become disruptive, with noisy teenagers skateboarding at all hours. Mikio had even filed complaints with the local government. The house next door, owned by Yasuko's mother, was being used for storage. It was quiet. Too quiet. No one could have predicted that the house's isolation would become the perfect trap. In the early hours of December 31st, an unknown intruder broke into the Miyazawa home. Investigators believe he entered through the bathroom window, which faced the park. A risky move, but one that gave direct access to the second floor. Inside, the family slept. The killer struck quickly. First, Ray, the youngest, strangled in his sleep, possibly to prevent any noise. He was just 6 years old. Then Mikio. Startled by the noise, he rushed upstairs. A struggle followed, loud enough for neighbors to later report hearing what sounded like an argument and banging. Mikio fought bravely, but the killer stabbed him at least a dozen times using 2 different knives, one of which broke during the attack. Next, the killer turned his rage on Yasuko and Nina, who had hidden downstairs in the bunk bed. He stabbed them repeatedly in an act described by investigators as overkill. And then silence. But the horror didn't end there. The killer did not leave. He stayed inside the house for hours, rummaging through drawers, eating ice cream from the fridge, using their bathroom, and even logging on to Mikio's work computer. He left his bloody fingerprints, skin cells, feces, and even the clothes he wore during the murder, everything but his name. By morning, the Miyazawa family was dead, and the killer? Gone. The discovery came on December 31st around 10 a.m. when Yasuko's mother, who lived next door, tried to check in. The door was locked. No one answered. She entered using her spare key, and what she found was described as a scene from a nightmare. Police were called immediately. What followed was one of Japan's largest investigations in history. Over 246,000 investigators were involved. DNA, fingerprints, footprints, even unwashed laundry from the killer. Evidence left behind included a knife purchased from a nearby store, sand found in the hip pouch he carried, traced back to the Nevada desert in the U.S. and a skate park in Japan. Blood, indicating the killer had cut himself during the struggle. His clothes, including a Uniqlo sweater, Nike Air Force One sneakers, and Hanes underwear, all mass-produced but traceable. Feces left in the toilet, not flushed, allowed DNA extraction. Police also traced his movements online. He had used a computer to connect to the internet after the murders, likely between 1:18 a.m. and 10 a.m. But despite all this, the killer had vanished. DNA analysis revealed something strange. The suspect likely had mixed heritage, a European maternal line and an East Asian, possibly Korean or Chinese paternal line. This genetic anomaly made the case even more difficult in a country as ethnically homogeneous as Japan. The killer's footprints, measured by blood stains, showed he wore Nike Air Force One South, size 27 centimeters, about U.S. men's 9. A common shoe, but purchased in limited quantities in Japan. He may have also suffered from a hand injury during the stabbing. Traces of his blood were found throughout the home, yet no hospital ever reported treating someone for such a wound. He didn't bring gloves. He didn't bring a change of clothes, yet he walked away as if swallowed by the earth. The Setagaya murders rocked Japan. People were terrified. How could a killer leave so much evidence, commit such a brutal act, and still remain at large? Newspapers, nightly news, even school textbooks began using the case to talk about forensics. The Miyazawa house was preserved for analysis. It still stands today, unused and quiet. The public demanded justice, and in 2010, the case helped push Japan to abolish the statute of limitations for capital crimes. Before that, even a murderer could walk free after 25 years. Now, the clock never runs out. Despite over 20 years of investigation, hundreds of suspects questioned, DNA databases scoured worldwide, the killer has never been identified. No fingerprints matched, no DNA matched, no suspects charged. The motive? Unclear. Was it random? Possibly. Was it targeted revenge? Mikio had confronted local teens. Had he angered someone? Was it a professional hit made to look amateurish? Or was it simply the work of a deeply disturbed individual, one who entered, destroyed, and vanished, never to kill again? The Miyazawa family never got justice. Their story has become a permanent scar on Japan's collective memory, a case that haunts cold case investigators to this day. In a world where technology grows smarter and data becomes traceable, it's hard to believe a man could leave behind his very DNA and still walk free. But that's what happened in Setagaya. A father, a mother, and 2 young children were taken in the dead of night, and the only thing left behind was silence. Thank you for watching. If this case left you uneasy, You're not alone. The Setagaya murders remain one of the most chilling reminders that even in the heart of safety, darkness can still slip through the cracks. If you're drawn to the shadows, if unanswered questions keep you up at night, then make sure to hit subscribe. Leave a comment with your theory and tap the bell so you never miss a case. Because here on Vanished and Unsolved, the truth is always one clue away.